New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment. Inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello, and welcome to Rockin the Love. I'm Robyn Olmstead.
And I'm Gil Olmstead. And we are your hosts each and every week, except when we're not. Okay.
Which happened recently. We're sorry we weren't with you last week. However, we were attending the Centers for Spiritual Living Conference in Reno, Nevada. Lovely Reno. It actually was pretty nice.
It was nice. It was quite lovely. Weather was nice, and then it got colder, and then we got snow all around Reno, and it sort of looked like snow coming down, but it never landed on the ground. And it was fun.
It was fun.
However, we were inside a casino the whole time. So I don't know.
And okay, this is for the record, Joe. I did not even touch one. Well, I did touch one.
You touched it, but you didn't put any money in it.
Because I couldn't figure out how. It was a new one in the bar. Like they used to have it, no big deal. You put your money in just like everywhere else, little slot. This one didn't have a slot for that, so I figured I was going to have to go get trade my money in for a paper voucher to put. And I was like, oh, it's too much effort. So I left my deposit in Reno, so to speak. I left what I would have taken home, so I'll have to go back and get it.
All right. We'll have to go back someday.
Yeah.
Someday to beautiful downtown Reno. But
yeah,
it was a good conference. It was fun. It was a lot of beautiful giant screens. It was very interesting. Some of the stuff that was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, any winnings must be shared with the producer. Yes, absolutely. Not only the producer, but New Thought Media Network. And that is a great segue into the fact that you too can share with New Thought Media Network. Simply like taking a picture of the QR code that's not there right now, but it will be. This is like a scavenger hunt. So you got to wait. And when you see it, hit the button and let us know you found it. And you may get an extra bonus surprise. So we would love it, though, if you can donate. We would appreciate it. All the donations go to New Thought Media Network to help us continue doing this work out in the world and help the station and allow Michael Mangus a platform to speak.
Well, the QR code is not, he took out all the QR codes. So just go to Rockin the Love on your page on ntmedia.org, and then you can donate there on your page.
Okay, well that's new to us because we haven't even looked at that.
No, he took out all the QR codes.
So when you say on our page, you're talking about our website?
Just go, yeah. So when you go to ntmedia.org, you'll go ahead and you'll say Rockin the Love, and it'll click on a page which also has a link to Give Butter and the Rockin the Love account.
Fantastic. So that's what you need to do if you want to.
Hey, I just found out.
So this is great. So we've made it even simpler for people to donate. Now they just have to find their way to New Thought Media page and then figure out how to give.
The views and opinions expressed are those of Robyn and Gil Olmstead. Okay. All right. Have a great show.
And this
All right.
concludes the cynical portion of our show.
It does? Are you sure?
I can never be sure. So anyway, welcome. We're glad you're here. And life is good. So our week, like I said, we spent it in Reno. And it was enlightening and wonderful workshops. What else?
It was rejuvenating, and to be with people that we know that we haven't seen for a while, and all that kind of good stuff. We had some good connections, and some really good input from some of the speakers, from some of the other stuff, workshops. That's the word I'm looking for, and enjoyed music. That was really fun. So. It was a good week. It was just tiring. It's just a lot. Somehow going away can be a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of energy and a lot of people, but it was great. We heard from the spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living, Reverend Sonny Cantrell Smith, who gave an amazing speech, and I think it really kicked people into the reality of being. Just really connected you to that awareness of our place in the world. And we had some other people who spoke. We have a new program unfolding through Centers for Spiritual Living, along with Unity and Anton, and different pathways in education where we're partnering with people. So partnership is really the order of the day. You want to add to that?
No. I mean, other than that, we did have Jim Blake there, who is the CEO of Unity at this point in time. And so that was nice to have that connection and crossover. And he spoke. He also was there for a major part of the conference. And so that was really nice. What can I say? The food was good most of the time. The hotel, that was a nice thing.
The food was great. It was all good. It was all good. There no real regrets. It's just, here's the deal. It is definitely a conference. Some people called it a retreat. There is no retreating about it. There is no time to retreat from anything. It starts at 7:30 in the morning. I mean, you can start at 7:30 in the morning with spiritual practices and breakfasts, and workshops start at 8:30, and we went, until 9 at night, right?
Yeah. There was somebody there that was talking about how they'd never been to a conference that ran this late, and I was thinking, well, yeah, probably, a lot of those corporate conferences, things you go to for companies, you're done at 5 p.m. You go have dinner, you hang out, et cetera, and you come back in the morning for the next thing. Not with these kind of deals. There's music and dancing and then there's another motivational speaker, and
And then you have to go out for drinks with somebody to decompress.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
It's been so much. So it was good. It was a good week, and you may be asking, is she ever going to take that hat off? And I don't know.
She likes that hat a lot.
I don't know. I'm very happy it was a good week because my team is 13-4, which means 13 wins and 4 losses. And what can I say? I bleed blue. Dodger fan. If that's troublesome for you, do your work, because I'm good with it. So that's all I've got to say about that. So that's a good week for me. And so I think that's it. So let's go to the good news while everything is good.
Everything is good. So, okay. So I guess in traditional fashion, I will go first. So I am going to share with you a little bit about a company in Hungary, which is called Waste Light Concrete. And here's the fascinating piece about it. they actually create concrete for roads, etc., and they are able to put unrecyclable waste streams into this concrete. Stuff that would otherwise be going to a landfill or an incinerator can't be recycled, can't be reused in any way, but they have it shredded up and they mix it into the concrete. And then they put it down as a road or as something like that. So let me see. It can contain a variety of materials, including polystyrene foam, mixed ester plastics, rigid plastics, but also non-plastic waste like furnace ash, sawdust, and cigarette butts. Wow. Shredded compounds take the form of stones that would normally be used in standard concrete. Oh, okay, so they shred it up and then make hard things out of it. Brilliant. I think that's great. So instead of digging rocks, etc., out of our earth, we conserve on that, and at the same time conserve on needing somewhere to put a bunch of extra stuff.
That's pretty amazing.
Pretty powerful, huh?
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Yeah, that's a great shift in environmental awareness.
And they mentioned here that plastic roads are not particularly new. However, they're typically done in an asphalt mixture versus creating a way to build them into concrete. So, and concrete roads, as we know, last longer, et cetera, et cetera. So there you go.
Wow. Okay. Well, mine is, I was inspired by this story about a woman who turned 105 years old and she wanted to throw a rave. So she threw the people, she's at a nursing home, the people hooked it up and threw a rave, and a DJ came and the whole thing. And, she's like, yeah, just, they danced the night away. She has sipped on a gin and tonic. And then I found another story about a 105-year-old cyclist who set a world record for speed. And I was like, damn. I mean, I was all in the first story, I was all ready to talk about, like, isn't that amazing really what you set your mind to, and how at 105 you're still talking about what's next and all of those things. And then a 105-year-old set cyclist record, new world record for speed. And this happened in France, near Paris, where the cyclist pedaled 14.8 miles in 1 hour, which is apparently 2.65 miles shorter than the previous record he set in 2014 for participants over the age of 100. Isn't that crazy?
So, world record speed holder for participants over 100.
Right. And he claims that he could have gotten a better time if he hadn't missed the 10-minute warning sign near the end of his attempt. But like, how it's so inspiring, and talk about just what's possible. I mean, I can't even move that fast to get up and out of bed. I can't, it's like, and he just has this thing, and he's still planning for the next thing, and he says, I'm not in as good a shape as I was a couple of years back. And he says, I'm not here to be the champion, but I'm here to prove that at 105, you can still ride a bike. So he did it. And I just think it's great. I just think, it's what we talk about in New Thought, Science of Mind, mind over matter, and just truly who are you? Who are you being, and what's possible? So,
really, when you think about the two stories we did, they're very much on that same front of remembering what's possible. We don't, if we decide what can't be done, what can't be used, what can't be physically accomplished, whatever, then we're good. That's exactly what happens. But when we keep our minds open and we are available to ideas that come that may seem weird or may stretch our normal thinking, amazing things happen.
Amazing things happen. And that's what's going to happen when we come back from the break. Amazing things will happen. So we don't want you to go away. We're going to talk today about oneness and what happens when you separate from oneness. Our show is one and done. So come back and explore with us what that means and where it'll take us. And we'll see you right back here in just a minute after these words from New Thought Media Network.
Please help us say thank you to all of our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Center for Spiritual Living United Life, Sunshine Cathedral, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Universal Joy Center, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Home Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. On behalf of New Thought Media Network, thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, come be you. Come expand your spiritual journey. Join us for Just the Talk, Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Experience Unity Kitchener and Ottawa. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Unity of Garden Park, New Thought Philadelphia, the Sunshine Cathedral, Unity of Savannah, and the Olmstead Center for Spiritual Living. Come unleash your spiritual potential with New Thought Media Network. New Thought Media Network proudly presents the Science of Mind Saturday Conversations. Learn more about the Science of Mind philosophy, faith, and way of life. Join our team of experts for a weekly deep dive discussion. Come study the science of mind, chapter by chapter, and resources from the Science of Mind archives. Plan to join us every Saturday, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Only on the New Thought Media Network.
Hello, welcome back. I am Robyn Rice Olmstead.
And I am Gil William Olmstead, and we are your hosts of Rockin the Love. We're here every Wednesday, whether you are or not, and we have a good time, and we talk about different topics related to relationships somehow, because we're in relationship to everything, if you think about it.
Whether we like it or not.
Yep.
The ones we like, the ones we don't. But today we're talking about oneness. And we're talking about the separation from oneness. And what that means and what that looks like. And I think that in this day and age, when we're navigating a lot of things in the world and the noises and the conditioning and all the stories that we've inherited along the way, about what's real and what's not real, I think we find ourselves sometimes in that momentary forgetting of who and whose we are, or where we stand in unison with the one, whatever your perspective is on that. So today we're going to talk about it.
And we have a very creative title for you. One and done. That's it today. One and done. And we're thinking about this idea of how, if we truly are living in the oneness, how does that play out? Where do we push against that with our relationships with people we know, with people we don't particularly like, with that kind of stuff? How are we living in the oneness if we're pushing others away in a certain way, or thinking they're separate from us?
Well, and I think not only people we don't like, but people we don't understand, or people that we just don't know as well, and we may have some preconceived notion of who they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's not that we separate when we don't like someone.
Well, yes, I hear you. But, speaking from personal experience,
of having people that don't like you.
Well, that's a given. But of having people that I don't have a high affinity for,
mm-hmm.
And being at a conference full of new thought, science of mind people who believe in the oneness and walking in the oneness, and then, some of them I'm not that excited about, not really interested in talking to them, and then thinking about, well, is that what I should be doing? Is that how one lives in oneness with the world? Right?
Well, I think that's an interesting question, because as I asked you before, so generally when we come up with these topics, we don't really talk about them for very long. We just sort of throw them out, get the title, maybe, and then we go off on our own and ponder it. But the one thing I know I did say to you is, but it all comes back to you, right? And I think that that's so important in this conversation, that it's what does it mean when we separate from oneness? What does that even mean?
Well, what I was sensing, what was coming up for me as you were saying that, is that the idea of pushing someone that represents something away from me indicates my lack of acceptance of the oneness of how all things are a part of me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like those parts of me, potentially.
Right. So it's that moment. It's like a momentary forgetting.
Well, and it's like, it's not. I hear you. It's momentary, but it's not momentary in the sense that, unless I come to some resolution with how I interact with those types of things in those particular relationships, then what am I just denying? Is it really that there's something wrong with me and how I treat them, or is it really about how I'm holding myself, which is showing up as how I'm treating them? And so what is it in me that needs to be healed so that I can walk in the oneness, so I can be in that space of compassion and love and acceptance? Doesn't mean I have to go out to dinner with them or anything, but I could be respectful of who they are in a different way, perhaps,
I hear you, but I'm going to give a different perspective, because I think you said Oh, what did you say? Sorry. You said something about who they are. And I'm going to argue that it's not about who they are. It's about who you are. And when we separate from oneness, we're forgetting who we are.
Okay.
You know, and so it's a moment, for me, it's a moment of forgetting. And that it's really, it's a space where I shrink into a smaller identity. Because if I am sitting in a place of judging someone else or feeling less than when I'm around someone or whatever it brings up for me, then that's not the truth of who I am. So I have forgotten.
Right. And that outpictures in some ways with how I treat other people, though, is I think partly what I was saying. If I'm finding myself not being able to interact in a certain way because of whatever those things are, it's probably because I'm not resolved within myself.
Yes. And so when that happens, then we shrink into a smaller identity of like lack and limitation and fear and doubt and worry and all of those things, right?
Right.
You know, whatever that situation, person, place, thing, whatever it is, brings up inside of us.
Those feelings of something that I was criticized for 15 years ago, perhaps.
Right. So
becomes somehow a part of it. So I'm still feeling this badness is the only thing I can think of. It's not what I mean, but you know, this uncomfortable feeling, this feeling like lack of confidence in who I am based on something, you know, that may be multiple years old in terms of where it came from, but that person represents it somehow.
Right. So you move into the illusion that you are less than.
Right. And so in that, I stay away to protect myself. I perhaps am not as friendly because I want them to know that they've hurt me, you know, whatever kind of thing it is. But there's something about how we respond in those situations.
Well, it brings up for me the talk I did on going to the edge, where I said there are no edge. There is no edge, because we start believing in the edges, and the edges are that place of like fear and danger and scarcity and unworthiness and lack and limitation and all those things that we stand at the edge. You know, there and so we believe in something that's not there, even when we see.
So if there's truly oneness, there can't be an edge to anything because there is no end to any of it, because it's all contained within, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of, not really, but it's sort of in a way. You know, the difference between flat earth and a round earth. You know, the flat earth, you can get to the edge of, there's danger, you can fall off. A round earth, because of the way it works, allows us to continue within the whole all the time. We're always contained, we're always retained on the earth somehow. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, sure. It's sort of like that. I mean, yes. And I don't, personally, I don't need the analogy, because I'm just thinking about what we say all the time, kind of ad nauseum, is when we speak to the truth with a capital T. It's like, if the truth with the capital T is, you know, there's only one God, there's only this, there's only that, then we move away from it in our day-to-day being. Then we're separating from the present. So then I can't continue to see it out there, right? If I over-identify with a personality rather than the presence. So if I see that person in front of me that I don't resonate with, or I don't like for some reason, or I don't believe, or I don't trust, I'm identifying with that. I'm not identifying with the presence of spirit in them, right? And for the record, y'all, I'm not saying, when I say this, I'm not saying that this is what I do all the time. This is a practice. This is an awareness that you have to cultivate coming up in every situation, because, there are definitely things where I don't like them, and that's the end of that story, and that's not the spiritual truth for me.
That makes sense. It makes sense because we are always learning. I think we're always noticing. If we are intentional about living, intentional about understanding oneness, intentional about understanding ourselves, intentional about being in relationships, all those things cause us to work on the capacity to take in information that's unpleasant and may invite us to change our behavior. Right? Because we're always invited to redirect to some degree.
We are. And I think that's part of the, what do I want to say? I'm going to say the danger, or the, well, you can correct me when you get what I'm saying. That's part of the challenge with moving forward and staying in the truth, is that we like our story too. We become very enamored with our story, and we forget, because sometimes I want it to be out there. And can you believe that this person did this or that person did that, and la 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 la, we buy into our stories, and we believe our thoughts more than our truth.
Yes. That makes sense. That makes sense. We do. We believe our thoughts more than what is. We believe what the thing is that we look at things, we assess them, we make a decision about them, and that all happens in our mind, which has nothing to do with what the thing is. It's just our assessment of the thing.
Yeah, and I'm going to go even a step further in saying that, if you believe, or if you come from the theory that we've all come here and we've been contracted, so to speak, to live this life, to, go through these hurdles, to shine our light, and to, be in that space. And so I think that really we're choosing, if we're contracting with what we know to be true, like that, I'm on this mission, I'm here to be the light, I'm here to shine, I'm here to teach others of their inherent greatness or whatever. And along with that, I'm running a program of whatever else has happened in my life, right? So I'm running the contract around not only that, fulfilling that goal, but also fear or shame or insecurity or overwhelm or whatever, whatever the story is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. So what does it mean to look through the lens of oneness? How does that shift how we respond in our world? How might that be advantageous to us to live from that space? Do you think?
Well, that's a great question. And I see that Wayne has joined us.
Hello.
And so he's giving out old-fashioned hippie hugs, and I think that would be a great time to live into the oneness. Yeah.
Yes. That actually talks about that whole idea of bringing of realizing that everything is within. There's nothing outside of the circle. There's no one outside of the circle. There's nothing that can push someone outside because of how they think, how they look, where they came from, how old they are. It doesn't matter. If we see it as one, we see everything as one, we see them as included and as a part of us or a reflection of us in some way. And so we can embrace people in to that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I was thinking about the specific situation at the conference of someone we ran into that we haven't had the best experiences with. And so it made me think, like, when does this happen? How is there a time when we separate more from the oneness than other times? How can we be aware when it's happening?
Yes, and I suppose we might ask the question, when are we setting boundaries for ourselves? When are we, finding that thing that helps us stay sane and move forward in our lives, versus when are we just pretending that we're spiritual? I think that sometimes it's really good to have, hey, that doesn't work for me, and so I'm not going to participate in it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Doesn't mean it's not okay necessarily. It just means it's not okay for me, and it's not where I want to be. But the other side is when I think for me is when I kind of get angry or I have this feeling of distaste about someone or something.
Yeah, I think definitely then, but I also think just in the general, it happens when we're tired. It happens when we're triggered. It happens, when we start comparing.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome, Victor, compadre. Good to see you.
And on that note, I do want to note, it appears Wayne has shared with us that he's off a pot, and so we want to just hold him in prayer. And I think all of us make changes that we need support with, and so it sounds like he's looking for a little support in. So we support you, Wayne. Ay caramba.
Okay. So back to what I was saying. So I think it happens when you're making changes and things like that. And you lose sight, you feel some fear or some angst about things that are going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think, I find myself functioning from fear at some level way more than I think I should be. If I pay attention, I'll go, what is that really about? What am I afraid of? What would be the problem with inviting this in, of receiving or seeing this as part of the oneness? Sometimes I think we're afraid it'll contaminate us somehow.
Say more about that.
Well, that somehow if we receive something as part of the oneness, then that means it's part of me, and that is very unpleasant. When we look at certain figures in our world that we really disagree with and we really struggle with, then how do we enfold them into the oneness of spirit? That they are truly a part of the one. Because it sure feels like it would be better if they were not a part of the one. Right?
Yes. Well, I think it's a tricky question.
It is.
Because One is in theory out there,
Uh-huh.
and I'm just speaking in general terms. In the general terms, it doesn't feel like we have as much say or control over it, right? And so, again, it's where do we go to that place of it's not out there, it's happening in here. And how do I stay in knowing that it's a course of it's a divine plan unfolding.
Right. And if I'm staying in the oneness, then somehow I am looking for how I can bring to myself and allow myself to show up as the peace, love, joy, etc. that I want to see in this world. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if others are appearing to fight against it, then the thing that I can get from that is it's teaching me how to show up for myself, to be more of that in the world, to be more of that in my world and in the world as a whole, which eventually I know influences the entire thing.
Yeah, and so I think that speaks to like when it's all happening, and then how do we move through it? In that, I think there's a place where we're absorbing collective fear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's going on in the world? There's a whole world of people with a thought and an opinion about what's happening, whether they're in the United States or whether they're in another country, because it's happening everywhere on some level. So we're absorbing major collective fear and uncertainty. And I think, I'm just, I haven't thought about it, but I think, we don't, on some level, we haven't experienced this. So it's not like we have the survival tools or to know what's going to happen next or to think we can get through it. And that's when we go to our small selves, I'm going to say, and step out of the oneness. Right?
Because in the oneness we have to know that the perfection of spirit is always served somehow in our world. And that, whatever those things that happen that appear to be not for our good, that appear to be against what would seem logical to me and you, offer something that allows me, myself, allows the world, allows some aspect of life to move forward, to learn, to discover, to realize what needs to happen, or how they can show up in this world.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one, I think. I think it's a really tough one because it's, you bring up all these horrible things in the world and you go, how is that possible? What is that? And yet there's always that space where individuals and sometimes groups and sometimes the world has a major cataclysmic flip or switch due to something horrible that is, that we assess to be horrible that has happened and yet has allowed an incredible shift in consciousness to happen.
Yeah. Welcome, Shay. We're just talking about when you step out of oneness and when it happens and why it happens and how it happens and all of those things. And so I think And I think that it's always, I think when you step out of the oneness, in some ways it's always spirit reminding you that you are more than that. Reminding you, giving you the opportunity to see, to step into a larger role, to not play in that small arena anymore. Because I think, what comes up for me is I remember, and I told this story, I think, before here, but when I was younger and I used to go over to a friend of mine who worked as a bartender, and we'd sit and we'd watch like Jerry Springer together. And, if you ever seen that show, it's horrific. Or if you haven't, it's still horrific. And it's, just because everybody yells and screams and puts everybody down. And I remember I was going into prac training and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't watch this. I can't buy into this. I can't hold that space, because that's a familiar pattern of what's comfortable, the old self, and going into an old story, right? Of, look at them, they're this, they're that, and they don't know, and that but it can't be true, right? And so on some level, I feel like that's what's happening in the world. There's an opportunity to step into a larger playing field, and yeah.
Well, I think we see that with what's happened politically, with some people coming out and saying, no, this is not okay anymore. Even though they've ridden, they had lived from a space of seeing these ideas of putting certain people in boxes and sending them out on the edges and blaming them for things, that was okay and that was good. But then, like you did, they began to go, wait a minute, that's not really how we live life. That's not okay for me anymore. And so there's a movement, there's a shift. And sometimes I think we don't get to that shift unless it's pretty blatant in our face about how misguided perhaps our thoughts are, right? It has to show up as, boom, oh, geez, I see that now. Even though I've subtly gone along with, that's probably due to them, and I don't need them around, and whatever our thoughts are.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's important to note that when this happens, when you feel yourself separating, I think it's really, the universe, as I said before, calling forth a new identity, the bigness. How often do you and I go, oh, I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
We know we're being called to do something. We know that people are counting on us to do something, or to be the voice, or to say the thing. And we're like, oh, I don't want to. Not, and no, you do it. Can't somebody else do it?
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
Right.
Or the answer is yes, and you can keep learning this lesson over and over.
Yeah.
Oh God, I need a nap. But the truth is that, and so the little self, the ego prefers like the spaciousness of the familiar. It's much easier for me to sit around and point over there than it is for me to trust what's going on and
have to widen my understanding, have to widen my ability to have compassion, have to admit that I perhaps have advocated for things that weren't okay. All kinds of ramifications show up in it. And walking in the space of it being, quote, comfortable is one of the ways we avoid everything. We know from years of research that many, many times, most of the time, people who who are abusive to spouses or children, etc., grew up as abused people.
Mhm.
And, I don't know what goes on in the heads of those people because I'm not there, but what I can say is I'm guessing that there's some aspect of which the only way to survive it is to normalize it in our minds so it becomes okay. And so then when we do it, we're not doing anything out of line, and it's not necessarily with any kind of maliciousness. It's personal survival, and so I, as another individual in the world, get to figure out how to be compassionate and loving to that person, giving them some space to see how they might be responsible in this situation. What might be happening that they need to shift, just as people do the same for me.
Yeah. Well, unbelievably enough, we are out of time. I know this was kind of fast, but yeah, it's a great conversation. And here's the good news that we never really separate from oneness. We can't. We only believe that we do. We only have those momentary lapses where we think we have, because the truth is we cannot separate. Just like the sun doesn't stop shining when a cloud passes by, right? It's just our awarenesses shift from light to the cloud. So every moment of forgetting contains a seed of remembering, and every contraction is truly the inhale before the next expansion. So hold that.
Okay.
And you're going to say something?
I was just going to say, I was noticing Shay's last comment. It's not that we normalize it, it's that it's normal when there's nothing to compare it to. For instance, our experience of being abused or whatever. And yes, that's true, but somehow as we grow into adults and we learn different things, we continue to somehow allow it to be normal, because otherwise it would shatter our whole understanding of our childhood. That kind of thing. I'm not saying that's always what happens, but I see that as a possibility in some cases. So moving on.
And that's exactly what Wayne said. Moving on.
Moving on.
But he said also moving on in faith.
So
that's what we're offering to you. Moving on in faith. We're holding Wayne in prayer, knowing that all is well. And all of you, thank you, Victor. Thank you, Shay. Thank you, all of you that are nameless out there. We love you, and we know that you're watching, and we appreciate you. Thank you, producer Michael Mangus. And keep on rocking the Dodger love, y'all. See you next week.
Rock on.